It's November 18th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today and the Treasury Titans. Nothing in this video is financial advice, and I want you to do a vibe check. Which Saylor are you? Great graphic by Hugh here. Are you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, or I? For whatever reason, I'm actually feeling G for myself. I just kind of feel like, listen, I'm not going to like smile from ear to ear because things obviously aren't great. But, I know what's coming. Saylor knows what's coming. There's a little bit of a grin about to start in his face in G there because he knows what's coming. I know what's coming. You know what's coming. So we absolutely just need to hodl the line, in my opinion. I'm going to be honest with you right now, with everybody listening to this call. I'm incredibly bullish. I am insanely bullish. That may sound crazy to some people. I don't care. I am so bullish because I've done the work. I've done the work to understand Bitcoin. I've done the work to understand strategy. I realize that sentiment is in the dumps for Bitcoin, for strategy, for all Bitcoin companies right now, for all crypto companies right now, heck, for the entire macro environment right now. But I see what's coming. I see the tidal wave of liquidity. We have been starved of liquidity since 2022. That is all changing on December 1st. And it's not going to be a light bulb. I'm not saying December 1st, we're flipping a switch and things are going to the moon. No, but liquidity starts coming back December 1st. Period. End of story. That is happening. QE is going to begin on some level. Dovish Fed is going to begin on some level. We know that by May 26th, we're getting rid of too late, too slow Jerome Powell, and we're going to be getting a very dovish Fed to come in and to start doing what needs to happen, of course, which is dropping rates at a very consistent and decent rate coming up here. So that's all happening. It's all happening. And if you think that the 4-year cycle has begun, then you should have sold a long time ago, gone away, and waited for a bottom. That's not me. That's not what I believe. The people that I respect the most, these are their thoughts, and therefore they have become my thoughts because, again, I respect these individuals. I believe these individuals. It all makes sense to me as well. I am incredibly bullish. I'm very bullish. And if you don't want to hear bullishness going forward on this, even when we're in the low 90s right now, if you don't want to hear bullishness, don't listen to the show because that's always what I'm going to be. I'm going to be optimistic that we are going up forever, never in a straight line. There will be very healthy pullbacks. I've always said volatility is vitality. Volatility is a gift to the faithful. These 25, 35% pullbacks, they are par for the course. I've lived through the 69,000 to 16,000 pullback. I understand these cycles. I've been here. This is not my first rodeo. And for some people who got in last November when it was euphoria, I understand the frustration. I understand the pain and the agony. And a lot of those individuals have already been shaken out and they'll never come back. Well, good riddance because they got in for the wrong reasons. They don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand strategy. So rant over. Just want to warn you, going forward, I don't care if this gets into the 80s, the 70s, the 60s of Bitcoin, I will be bullish, period. Why? Well, one reason is because Strategy acquired 8,178 Bitcoin for $835 million at 102,000 per Bitcoin. He achieved a Bitcoin yield year to date of 27.8%. Remember, their goal is 30%. Looking like they could definitely achieve that with a strong finish. And as of 11/16, they hodled 649,870 Bitcoin, acquired for $48 billion at 74,000 per coin. And I am so excited. And we'll talk why in the future of this show, by the way, in the future of this show coming up soon about what we did with Stretch because it was absolutely amazing. Remember that every dip in Bitcoin, Zinc says, is just a rotation of coins from weak hands to strong hands. Every day, the percentage of Bitcoin that's transferred to those who are never selling increases, and thus the floor price rises incrementally. 1 million a coin is inevitable. And just look at this chart. This says it all. This going from the weak retail hands who are just selling because they're panicking, or selling, by the way, because they've been hodling for 10 years and they're taking some lifestyle chips off the table. Good for them. And it's going to people like Strategy and Michael Saylor who are never selling. Brian says the Stretch dip, and there was a dip. And a lot of people are like, I thought it was supposed to be pegged at 100. Well, it's not. Obviously, a lot of that's because Bitcoin got trashed and people are freaking out and they have to cover their leverage because they're degens and they're perp trading. So they're having to sell their quote unquote cash equivalents, which for them is Stretch, so they're having to sell to cover their, their margins, etc. But the stretch dip is only partially due to market jitters. It's a fundamental market dynamics of dividend yielding stocks is that they dip after the ex-dividend date to reflect changes in shareholders' equity. It happened in August as well. And this is, so the snapshot happens on November 15th. There's a snapshot. So anybody who was holding on November 16th, you have already locked in your 10.5% annual yield for stretch. So people are then arbitraging that by selling stretch and going off and using for the next like 29 days. They're going off and using that money somewhere else. Maybe they're investing it somewhere. Maybe they're getting yield somewhere else, whatever it might be. They're getting yield somewhere else. Or they're investing somewhere else. And then they'll come back on December 10th, 11th, or 12th to buy back into stretch to, again, get the snapshot, because for whatever reason, people are going to sell to them. I don't know why, but people are going to sell to them right before the dividend date, but that's just how the market works. Adam Livingston said, Grok woke up today and shows the spit facts about MSTR bears. Love to see it. And Grok says, this is about MSTR being a Ponzi. No, this isn't a Ponzi scheme. MicroStrategy issues preferred shares or debt at low cost to fund Bitcoin purchases, where Bitcoin's historical appreciation far exceeds financing expenses, creating real value rather than illusionary returns. Ponzi schemes lack productive assets and blah, blah, blah. And I think I'm going to listen to a 170 IQ AI opposed to a 65 IQ degen posting on X because they're trying to pump their shorts or spread fake rumors because they're just toxic individuals. So just get your sources straight, my friends. Zing says, can you imagine a stretch product in every major capital market in the world sucking liquidity in the Bitcoin ecosystem? I can. That's what we get to look forward to over the next 12 to 24 months. Don't forget Europe, Japan, et cetera, have much lower yields than the US. So theoretically, the demand should be much higher. Stream at 10% is much better than the 3% 3 to 4% you can get in Europe. Then at MetaPlanet, Strive, Capital B, Smarter Web, they're all going to offer preferred. You can see the floodgates opening. We're talking billions of dollars every week flowing into Bitcoin. Nothing stops this train. Ben Workman says, if you knew someone with $1 million of liquid assets, cash equivalents, but they had payments and they owed $12,800 per year, would you spend a lot of your time being concerned with their solvency or their ability to meet those payments? That is the argument happening on X about strategy recently. Why? Because people just don't know the numbers. They're not doing the work. They are so clueless. They are so lazy. And they just, look at this right here. If you're an MSTR bull, which Chris is, which I am, here's who you're competing against. And this is an individual who can't even make his bed, apparently, who's literally in a sheet because he doesn't want to be doxxed, saying stretch, the Bitcoin stablecoin that could rug MSTR. I mean, this individual, you just got to laugh at them. Zinc says 700 million from euro-denominated stream product. More importantly, 131 million from stretch. Real quick, $131 million from stretch. That is insane. This is more than double from last week. How long before this is billions of dollars every single week? Absolutely insane. I am so bullish on this company. Now, of course, we got to be realistic. It looks like it's not going to happen anytime soon, stretch does not get back up to 100, they're not going to be able to ATM at all. So they have to wait till stretch gets back up to 100 before they are able to start ATMing again. So it could be a couple quiet weeks until that happens. We'll see. I do expect Michael Saylor to very likely raise stretch's interest to 10.75. That is my guess. That's my estimate. They might get really aggressive and just go to 11%. That'd be kind of a bold statement. Hermes says each share of MSTR contains 27.8% more Bitcoin than it did on 12/31/2024. I owned my shares on this date. So I've seen a 27.8% increase more in Bitcoin than it did on 12/31/2024. What does that mean? Well, when sentiment turns around, when the MNAV starts expanding again, which it will, it's the pendulum that will swing and it will go too far to the right again. Then it will come too far back to the left again. It will happen. I've got 27.8% more Bitcoin than my shares do, Bitcoin per share, than I did on 12/31/2024. I love that game. Chris says, to put last week's raise prefs from the prefs into perspective, at 136 million, it was Strategy's second largest raise to date. That during a week when Bitcoin fell by over 10%. Do with that information what you will. I mean, look at this. Boom. Absolutely insane. I just love it. This was a week when Strife and Strike, had two massive weeks for just various reasons because they were absolutely crushing it. I mean, they were both flying to the moon, but it's just so great to see what Stretch is able to do. Adrian says, strategy preferred offering trading volume. This is the dollar trading volume of Strike, Strife, Stride, and Stretch. It was a 17% increase. I mean, that is insanely awesome. Look at this just volume increase. Again, I'm expecting a decrease next week because Stretch is going to be likely trading below 100. So it might be a huge drop off next week, just because that's just a reality of this product. It has to be at $100 or more for strategy to ATM. So we'll see what's coming up next week. But this is just what you're seeing in a downtrending market. Just imagine when the market turns around and the floodgates are really open. Zinc says, we're not bullish enough on strategy. The first domino has fallen. Stretch has now raised $130 million in a single week for strategy. I would turbocharge everything I said in the quarter post by raising the yield for Stretch by 25 bips. I agree. That's exactly what I said too. It's not necessary, but rocket fuel doesn't hurt. Stream raised $700 million, and the wheels for this product in Europe shall begin turning shortly. You are not bullish enough. I'll add another prediction. In less than 12 months from this post, strategy will be bringing in over $1 billion a week from its preferred book market. And I liked how you can like bookmark this stuff by like replying and saying like, remind me of this in 1 year. And then there's like an you can do. I can't remember the handle now, but it's really cool to see stuff like this that you're a believer in, because I'd love to be hit up, on November 18th of 2026 and see where we're at, based off of this. The Bitcoin therapist says, Justin, strategy raised $131 million for Stretch last week, approximately 1,400 Bitcoin at today's price. Assuming this volume strategy could accumulate 72,000 Bitcoin per year with one preferred product. Holy crapoly. And here's the numbers right here. You can see he barely ATM'd anything else, just mostly Stretch. The Bitcoin therapist says, Bitcoin follows the halving cycle. Bitcoin follows global M2. Bitcoin follows the CPI. Bitcoin follows gold's price. Bitcoin follows the 50 WM. Bitcoin follows the business cycle. Which one is it again? So far, none of them. So that's what I'm saying when I say, listen, if you just believe in the long-term trend of this market, just be a long time horizon investor. Sit back and let things play out short-term. And Hugh says, I love the smell of fear in the morning. And honestly, I prefer the smell of fear to the smell of greed, because with greed, as I've shared before, there's a pullback coming. That when your Uber driver, your hairdresser, and your best friend who has never invested before are all FOMOing into this stuff, that there's a pullback coming. But when it's fear, to me, we are close to the bottom, very close to the bottom. That's what I see when I see the fear index at 10 for multiple days in a row. And then now we have a great video interview with Michael Saylor and Charles Schwab, continuing that train. Senator Cynthia Lummis recently announced that funding for a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve can start anytime. This is a massive step forward for a strategic crypto stockpile, and no surprise, was soon followed by a new all-time high for Bitcoin. If you're looking to buy more Bitcoin, BitIRA can help. In fact, BitIRA will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into Bitcoin. This also allows you to buy Bitcoin using pre-tax funds, then continue to invest in it over time as you do any other retirement account. And if you want, you can even add XRP, Ethereum, or other cryptos. BitIRA protects your assets with end-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and is registered with the US government. Your IRA is fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without incurring taxes on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Think about this. In March, President Trump signed an executive order for the Treasury to manage 200,000 Bitcoin as the foundation for a reserve. That's just the foundation. Go to bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin. Fire Nation, when you want more for your business, more privacy, more guidance, more success, it all starts with Northwest Registered Agents. These legends have been helping entrepreneurs launch and grow their businesses for nearly 30 years. They're the largest registered agent and LLC service in the US with over 1,500 corporate guides, real people who know your state's laws and actually care about helping you win. With Northwest, you can build your complete business identity, everything from what your customers see to what they don't, operating agreements, meeting minutes, compliance paperwork, and more. You'll get thousands of free resources, lawyer drafted forms, and step-by-step guides all in one place, and you don't even need to create an account to access them. Best part, privacy is automatic. Northwest never sells your data and handles everything in-house. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and get your complete business identity in just 10 clicks and 10 minutes. Visit www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free.
There's a lot of people that would rather have 10% after tax with 1/100th the risk, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a different class of investors. So we have rotated from the true believers to the hedge funds that, like, you know, the Millenniums and Soros and Citadels that wanted to trade and hedge the convertible bonds, to the credit investors that want long duration, sophisticated credit. And then with Stretch, it's just money market investors. I have some money, I just want more than zero, but I don't really want to risk the principal so much. And so that last set of investors are, you know, retirees, mainstream retail. I think we had $600 million of retail demand for our Stretch IPO in 2 days. So in 48 hours, we had $600 million of demand, and that was an order of magnitude larger than the retail demand for our other, you know, instruments.
What's the second best? There is no second best.